Hi everyone, Chris Hondros with you again after a little time apart as the Metropolis of San Francisco Music Ministry video series continues. We hope you have been well. Last weekend we had the commemoration of the Fathers of the Fourth Ecumenical Council, whose Doxastikon displaced the Eothinon Doxastikon, so we did not do the sixth, which we'll come back to. And also, we happen to have covered the Doxastikon for the Fathers on the Sunday before Pentecost. This Sunday, we will continue with our Eothinon Doxastikon, with the 7th of 11. Let's have a look at the Gospel reading connected to the hymn, which is from John chapter 20, verses 1 through 10. On the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb early, while it was still dark, and saw that the stone had been taken away from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." Peter then came out with the other disciple, and they went toward the tomb. They both ran, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. Stooping to look in, he saw the linen cloths lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came, following him, and went into the tomb. He saw the linen cloths lying, and the napkin which had been on his head, not lying with the linen cloths, but rolled up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple who reached the tomb first also went in, and he saw and believed. For as yet they did not know the scripture that he must rise from the dead. Then the disciples went back to their homes. If this text looks familiar, it's because it's nearly the same account as the fourth Eothinon from Luke chapter 24, verses 1 through 12. When we look at the text of the hymn, we see something quite interesting and I think beautiful. Here is the text of the 7th Eothinon Doxastikon. Our translation comes from Holy Transfiguration Monastery. Behold the darkness and the dawn, and why hast thou stood without at the sepulchre, O Mary, having great darkness in thy mind? Because of this thou didn't ask, where hath Jesus been laid, but see both the disciples running together, how they surmise his resurrection from the linen cloths and the napkin, and they remembered the scripture concerning him. Together with them, we who also have believed through them, praise thee, O Christ, the giver of life. Okay, so what's going on? The author uses a convention we see quite often that we see in our hymns, which is to place themselves in the midst of the action, and addresses Mary Magdalene directly, asking her, "Why is there great darkness in your mind?" The author then essentially attempts to offer her comfort by showing her as if to explain it to her while it's happening in real time. How the disciples are running to the tomb, and they see the linen cloths and napkin, and figure out what happened. It's almost as if the author, who as we see later, represented of the collective mind and wisdom of the church that has already experienced the joy of the resurrection, speaks to Mary Magdalene through time. The author then says to Mary Magdalene that we, the church, believe with them and through them and offer praise to Christ across the ages. It's an image of the church collectively throughout time, reflecting on this moment and saying, like, because of the disciples' faith, we glorify Christ's resurrection. So don't fret, Mary. This is really the first of our Doxastika to take this point of view, and again, it's a very beautiful and interesting image. How fitting that we read this gospel on what winds up being the Sunday following the feast of Mary Magdalene, who we call equal to the apostles. That was celebrated this past Wednesday. Okay, now to the music. Seventh Eothinon means grave mode. The version that we'll look at comes from St. Anthony's Monastery. This particular score has grave mode in the enharmonic scale, with a bass note of Ra, or F. We remember that a feature of the grave mode is the Zo always being flat. And we will see cadences on the and pa and the bass note Ra. In Western staff, that is a G, well, Ra being the F, and a pa, which is a D. The range of this piece is from a low ni, or C. The melody touches there a few times on its way back to Ra, and then a high pa during resurrection, as we can see here. Pointing out a few notable aspects of this score, a feature of sticheratic grave mode is this musical phrase that we see 3 times in this score. Notice the sepulchre, O Mary. The bottom of the first page, running together. And the phrase, and the napkin. These are all the same musical theses, and this descent to ni before returning to ga is rather typical. Also notice the varia followed by the ison and apostrophos on ga. Right here. If you look at the Western staff, the common interpretation of this is actually to overshoot the up to ke, or G up to A, before landing on Ra, or F. This is also something we see in grave mode. We see a bit of word painting on great darkness. Here, as a hard chromatic thora puts us in plagal second mode for a very brief time. Another example of the word painting we are perhaps starting to get used to see more in our music. Are you ready to give it a try? Let's give our epihema and begin. Honors, glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Behold the darkness and the dawn, and why hast thou stood without at the sepulchre, O Mary? Having great darkness in thy mind, because of this thou didst ask, where hath Jesus been laid? But see both the disciples running together, how they surmised his resurrection from the linen cloths and the napkin, and they remembered the scriptures concerning him together with them. We who also have believed through them praise thee, O Christ, the giver of life. Great. That's a very beautiful one, isn't it? Thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe, and offer us your feedback, and let us know what questions you have, what we can do better. As we are getting closer to the period of the 15 days of August, you can expect some content focused on services from that time. Until next time.